Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Hendricks Wealth and Estate Management weekly webinar. We do these webinars every Wednesday at 11:30 Central Time, and we have, or at least will have later today, a list of upcoming topics on our website at hendrickswealth.com/events. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen for you to ask any questions you may have, and I'm going to try to answer what I can following the webinar. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you all a simple question. If something unexpected happened to you tomorrow, would your spouse or a loved one know what to do? And that's really what today's webinar is about. It isn't about investments. It isn't about trying to predict the stock market. It's about helping families prepare for something that none of us want to think about, but all of us should plan for. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I'd like to share a few ideas that can make life dramatically easier for the people you love, be it a spouse or another loved one, if they ever had to hold down the finances for your family. So imagine you wake up, you have breakfast, you kiss your spouse goodbye, and you head to work or just out to run a few errands. It's just an ordinary day. Around lunchtime, your spouse receives a phone call and you've been involved in a serious accident. Thankfully, you're alive, but you're unconscious. Doctors expect you're going to recover, but it could take weeks. Suddenly, your spouse is responsible for everything. Not necessarily forever, but responsible for everything nonetheless, starting today. So most people think the biggest challenge at this point is money, and it isn't. Your investments are still there. The checking account is still there. The retirement accounts haven't disappeared. The challenge is that your spouse may suddenly have dozens of questions they may not be used to. How do I pay the bills? Where is the health insurance information? Who do I call? How do I access investment accounts? Where's the will, the trust, the power of attorney? It's not a financial crisis, it's an information crisis. And that's where most families begin to struggle. You see, life doesn't stop just because your family's going through a difficult time. The mortgage is still due, utility bills continue arriving, insurance premiums still draft from your account, taxes still have their deadlines, but suddenly one person has to figure it all out. The question isn't whether your family has enough money. The question is whether someone else understands how everything works. And that leads us to what I believe is the biggest misconception most people have. As I said a few moments ago, most people think that money is the biggest challenge, and it isn't. Over the years, I've sat with a number of families after unexpected illnesses, accidents, or losses, and I don't remember a single time where someone said, I wish we'd earn another 2% on our investments. What they say to me instead is, I don't know where anything is, or I don't know who to call, or I don't know how our retirement income works. I don't know which accounts we even have. And that's why today isn't about the investments. It's about making sure the people you love aren't left trying to solve a puzzle during one of the most stressful times of their lives. So let me ask you another question. In your household, who is the CFO? The chief financial officer of your family. Every family has one. Sometimes it's the husband, sometimes it's the wife. Over time, one person naturally becomes what I like to call the family CFO. They're the ones who know how the bills get paid. They know about the investments, the mortgage, the passwords, the estate plan, etc. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. That's simply how many families divide responsibilities. The problem isn't in having a family CFO. The problem is when the assistant CFO has never been trained. If something unexpected happens, the family suddenly discovers that almost every important piece of information lives inside one person's head. And that's the risk we're trying to reduce. So let's see if that's true in your household. Let's do a quick survey in the privacy of your own home. Raise your hand if you're the person who usually handles the household bills. Now keep your hand up if you're also the person that preps for tax season. Do you handle the investments, the insurance, Are you the one that knows the passwords? Do you know where the estate planning documents are? Most families likely only have one person raising their hand during every one of those questions. That is your family CFO. Now, here's the important question. If you, as the CFO, couldn't do those things tomorrow, could somebody else? Let's find out. Could your spouse answer these questions, or a loved one answer these questions? Who prepares your taxes? Where's your will? Who drafted your trust? Where are the passwords or password manager instructions? Who's your financial advisor? How many investment accounts do you actually have? If you're retired, where does your monthly income come from? Again, it's not a test. It's simply an opportunity to discover where there might be some communication gaps. And here's what almost every couple discovers. One spouse says, I thought you knew where that was. And the other says, I've never seen that account, or I don't know who that person is. That's completely normal. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It simply means over the years, each of you naturally took responsibility for different things in the household. So today's goal isn't to make both spouses financial experts. It's to make sure both spouses know enough so life can continue if something unexpected were to happen. And that's a very different goal. That's one that's completely achievable. So why does this matter so much? It matters because we generally have 3 waves of response. Let's go back to our original lunchtime accident story, and let's think about everything that happens during the first week after that accident. Wave 1 naturally hits on day 1. You're left dealing with doctors, with family, employers, insurance, the basics of an emergency. Wave 2 is going to hit about day 3 or so. The household needs to keep running, and practical questions begin. Which account pays the mortgage? Where's our checking account? What income is coming in this month? Which bills are paid automatically? Then by the end of week 3, or by the end of the week, we're entering wave 3, and we have new questions that may begin. Where's the will? Who has the power of attorney? Who is our attorney? Who prepares our taxes? How do I access our investment accounts? Notice that not one of those questions has anything to do with whether your portfolio earned 6% or 8% this year. They have everything to do with organization, and that's actually good news because organization is something that every family can improve. Following your emergency, imagine your spouse walking into your home alone. Instead of wondering where everything is, they simply open one binder, the Family Financial Organizer. Inside are the important documents that will serve as a guide as they step into the CFO role for your family. We don't want it cluttered with every bank statement and every receipt, but just enough information that someone else could confidently step into this role. That's the purpose of a Family Financial Organizer. It's not about paperwork. It's about reducing stress when your family needs it most. It's helping them find what they need to navigate through life as it continues. So what actually belongs in this Family Financial Organizer? The answer actually surprises some people. First of all, it certainly isn't everything. Your loved one doesn't need to navigate a maze filled with years of statements from all your investment accounts and bank statements and every receipt you've ever saved. Instead, think of this as a roadmap that includes things like your emergency contacts, contact information for your professional team, a summary of your income sources, your insurance information, estate planning documents, tax information, property records, beneficiary summaries, secure instructions for accessing your digital life, such as passwords, mobile apps, and different websites that you use. The stuff you use as the CFO on a regular basis to navigate through life. If your spouse had this information in one organized location, they wouldn't have to start from scratch. They'd have more confidence in stepping into that role of CFO for a short time. And speaking of confidence, let's look at one group that every family should know well. That's your family's professional team. One thing I see too often is that only one spouse, usually the CFO, knows the family's professional team. That spouse knows the CPA, they know the attorney, they know the advisor, they know who handles the insurance, but the other spouse may never have met some or all of these people. One of the simplest things you can do this year is introduce your spouse to your entire professional team. Make sure they know the names, the phone numbers, the email addresses, and perhaps most importantly, who should they call first? That's an easy step that can make an enormous difference in helping them navigate should they have to step into the role. And there's one more piece of the puzzle that is often overlooked. Where does the money come from? So before retirement, most of us receive a paycheck from an employer. After retirement, we may have a variety of paychecks. A retiree's income may come from Social Security, pensions, IRA withdrawals, brokerage accounts, rental properties, or part-time work. If your spouse suddenly had to manage all of those income streams, would they know where each payment comes from? Would they know when it arrives? Would they know if anything needs to be updated each year? Understanding your retirement paycheck is every bit as important as building it. And then there's one final area of our financial lives that's become just as important as our paperwork. When you're old like me, about 20 years ago, most of our important information lived in a filing cabinet. Today, much of it lives behind a digital password. Our banking, investments, insurance, taxes, medical records, even our family photos, all password protected. Ask yourself one simple question. If your spouse picked up your phone or logged onto the computer tomorrow, could they access what they need? Do they know the various websites and passwords to get the information they need as they occupy your role as CFO? When it's all included in the family financial organizer, they will. Today, digital preparedness has become an essential part of just basic overall financial preparedness. If you take only one thing from today's webinar, let it be this. Please have these 3 conversations with your spouse or loved one that would be responsible for running your estate. Just to make sure you're all on the same page. First, where is everything? Second, who do we call? And third, how does our money actually work? These conversations don't need to happen all at once, but they do need to happen. And this may be the most important conversation your family's ever had. Share a personal story. When my father passed away, he didn't have a fancy leather binder that was labeled Family Financial Organizer. He simply had a white envelope with all the information I needed to step into the CFO role for him. And let me tell you, it made life so much easier during that time. I knew where accounts were. I knew where his pension information was. I knew where his insurance information was. And it made it so much easier. I didn't have to go through and collect data and search stuff out. All of his passwords were there, so it was much easier. So let me leave you with one final thought. None of us can predict tomorrow. We can't control every circumstance life may place in front of us, but we can control how prepared our families are. If today's webinar encourages you to organize a few important documents, introduce your spouse to your professional team, or simply begin a conversation that you've been putting off, then we've accomplished exactly what we hoped to today. I want to thank you all for joining us. I truly hope this will start an important conversation in your home to just make that chance, if you ever need to make the transition for someone else to take over as CFO, just to make it that much easier. Now I'd like to open up to any questions you may have. So again, there is a Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen where you can enter any questions you may have. While we're waiting to see if there's any questions, please remember we do have these webinars on a variety of topics every Wednesday at 11:30 Central Time. You can find later today, because I have to put it out there still, you'll find a list on our website at hendrickswealth.com/events. And also, if you needed to go and look at some old webinars we've done, if you go to the resource page, there's a whole list of video archives out there, and all of our backlog of all of our webinars are out there as well. Next week, on September 2nd, we have one of our financial advisors, Tom Anderson. He's going to be hosting a webinar on the mid-year financial checkup. And then on September 9th, I'll be at bat again, and I'm going to be talking about the sandwich generation. These are the people that are simultaneously building their own retirement, putting kids through college, and providing care for their aging parents. So I'm going to really talk about how to properly balance those three efforts. We do have some questions coming in here, so I've been looking for a good template to use to capture everything. Download a couple, wondering if you have any recommendations for this. I can certainly get something out to you. That question came from a client of ours, so I can definitely get something out to you. And there was another question that was almost identical to that. So it's about templates and basically a strategy on how to go about planning this and building out your family financial organizer. So good questions. I don't know if there's any websites that have it, but I will definitely put something together. The two of you that asked that same question are both clients of ours. So I have your email address and I can put something together and send that out. I'll wait to see if we have any more questions coming in. I have a question. Are we providing an organizer book? We don't provide the organizer book ourselves, just because, like I was saying, in my personal experience, it happened to be an envelope. A binder is nice, but it can be an envelope. It's just something to have all those necessities in one place and easily identifiable. It doesn't have to be labeled, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just something that if it's a spouse, a loved one, anybody that needs to step into that role and know all of your everything we just covered today, it's all in one spot for them. Good questions, though. All right. I don't see any other questions coming in here. I'll give it one more minute or so. If we don't have any more questions, I do see one that says categories. So that would be that the categories would be included in that template. So what I'll do is I can send a template out to anyone that's a client of ours. Otherwise, what I will do is I will put something out on our website that will be accessible just as a template, so people know, okay, what categories should I fill? And some of the categories won't pertain to everybody, but it'll be just a master component and just make life easier in you filling up this. All right. I do have a question about sending the template or checklist to everyone. Again, I have the names of the people that are asking these, and fortunately, everyone right now is a client of ours. But I do have the entire list of people that signed up for this, so I will send out a template once I have that built. I will send that out to everyone that signed up for this session. Again, this is the live session. If you're watching this as a recording, I won't have your information, so I can't send it out. But I do plan to get this uploaded to our website, which is hendrickswealth.com. All right. Very good. Again, I do appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Hopefully you found this session helpful and useful. Again, we'll have Tom Anderson at bat next week going through a mid-year financial review. And then again, in 2 weeks, you'll be stuck listening to me again talking about the sandwich generation. So for now, I'm going to let everyone go. We'll take care. And if you have any questions offline, you can always send them to me at info@hendrickswealth.com. Thanks and have a great day, everybody.